my foundation and my refuge and my deliverer.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, our one true God. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our weekly video sermon. And our country celebrated its 250th year of the Declaration of Independence. We declared ourselves independent from the British King George. These European monarchs who didn't have the faith. Can you imagine? They're called the defenders of the faith. What faith did they have? This past week, Charlie, the king, the successor to King George, they have now Charlie, King Charlie, and they said now his title is not the defender of the faith. His title now is defender of all the faiths in England, because they have many now, which is another useless title. Okay, but back in 1776, he didn't want to give our 13 colonies independence. And he oppressed us. And we rebelled. And the Revolutionary War started. And it was a delicate time. Historians will tell you that we could have been crushed because Britain had a major naval force, major naval ships that had cannons that could fire on other ships, that could just go and approach a ship and say, "Give us all your cargo. Where are you headed to?" And if you're headed to the 13 colonies of America, tough. So this was one way the British not only putting troops in America and fighting our soldiers, but also waging war on the sea. And that could have hurt the colonies tremendously. And so what happened? The whole world knew that there was a revolutionary war going on here. And in Russia, we had, I say we had, because they're Orthodox. It was an Orthodox country. It's called Holy Russia. We had Catherine II, and she had a request from the British. Please loan us 20,000 soldiers so we could transport them to America and fight the colonies with your soldiers. And Catherine said, no way, no. In fact, she was probably very sympathetic to the desires of these revolutionaries, but she did not consent. In fact, she tried to help us. And she formed the League of Armed Neutrality in 1780 that defended all neutral sea trade and pushed back against Britain's naval control. This weakened the British diplomatically and commercially. And after she formed this league, one after another, every country, they joined it. except for Britain, though. And so this weakened the British, so much so, some believe that it weakened their soldiers and the supply route, and they were defeated. So Russia, at the Revolutionary War, helped America. Then, in 1863, there was a war going on in America. It's called the Civil War. And that was, again, another very delicate time, whereas the union of all the states could have been broken. If the South won the war, they would have broken away and there would be no United States. And so in Russia, they had Tsar Alexander II. He had sympathy to the North, the Union, because he had just freed all his slaves by the signature of his pen. And we here, about the same time, well, it was after, we were fighting the South who wanted slavery. So his sympathy was with the Union. So what did he do to help the cause of the North? He sent his fleet. Now, Russia was also a powerful country with a great naval force. And they had a Pacific fleet, and they had an Atlantic fleet. So, he ordered all the Baltic fleet to go to New York City. And there were 6 warships to scare the living daylights out of the British, which they did. And the Americans saw these ships coming in. They were, how would you say, governed? Headed by Admiral Lesovsky, an Orthodox admiral. He was part of Russia. All of Russia is Christian, Orthodox Christian. So when he came in to New York City, all the people, they were so happy because the British was being scared and they were acting belligerently. And so they welcomed the soldiers. They offered them to come and they had banquets. Can you imagine? To welcome the sailors of Imperial Russia, sent there by Alexander II. And then the Pacific Fleet, led by Admiral Andrei Popov. He sailed into San Francisco with his ships and anchored on the other side of the United States. And the British, they were not pleased at all. So that was in 1863, in the middle of the Civil War. And they anchored there. And what happened in San Francisco in 1863? They had a fire. They had a fire in San Francisco. Started in a cloth factory or something like this. And it spread through blocks of the city. And the Russian sailors could see the city burning. So all of these Orthodox sailors, along with their admiral, Andrei Popov, said, we can't just sit here. And so he told all his sailors, all that can leave the ships, 200 sailors, to disembark and go into the city and help fight the fires because it's killing people. And so they went, and they went with their buckets because that's all they had. And they were going to take water and throw buckets. And so they came, and the firefighters of San Francisco were so happy to see them. But after just a few minutes, they told them, stop using buckets. Come over here and help us with our fire engines. Somehow they developed a mechanism to shoot. And so the Russian soldiers came over, and in a very short time, they were able to master those engines and to help put out the fire. Sadly, because of the severity of the catastrophe, I think 6 Russian sailors died. We don't know how many Americans died. But the people there were so grateful. They put up monuments, which they should, commemorating 200 Russian Orthodox, yes, sailors who helped them put out the famous fire 1863. Okay, compare that with what happened in 1922. There was another fire right on the ocean front of the city of Smyrna. This fire was deliberately started by the Muslims. For what purpose? Oh, they had gathered as many Greek Orthodox people, and they were driving them into the sea, along with Armenian people. It was called an ethnic cleansing of Turkey. And the perpetrator was Ataturk. And so they started a fire. And the people, hundreds of thousands of people, not just hundreds of thousands, now were in terror. What are they going to do? And then they looked in the harbor, and what was in the harbor? Many ships. No. Where were they from? From Europe, Britain, France, Spain, and even the United States. And they could have put down their small boats and come to the harbor to save the lives of these people that were being driven into the sea. But no, they did not. And estimates of how many people drowned or were burned to death are from 1 to 400,000 people. They were even swimming out to the ships and say, help us, help us. And they would not let them on their ships. What kind of people are these? What kind of sailors are these? These are Protestant. They had no pity. Contrast that with what happened in San Francisco. They couldn't, they were Orthodox Christians. You think Orthodox Christians would sit back and just watch people suffer and not help? That's not what we do. We try to help when there is distress. But these people, they call themselves Christians, but they won't lift up a hand. Until finally they were embarrassed, so embarrassed that they gave in at the end and started receiving these Orthodox people so they wouldn't be drowned into the sea. So isn't that okay, so I digress. So 2 times the Russian people saved and helped America. Now we come to 1917. There was a man called Karl Marx and his buddy, Friedrich Engels. Both of them had radical and crazy ideas to cause turmoil in the world. And they had these crazy ideas that everybody should be equal. everybody should have equality among all. Doesn't matter if you're energetic or a lazy bum. You should have, if you have motivation or zero motivation. So they had this communist mantra to convince it. These people were very associated with the anarchist Jewish people that were inciting revolution. And they would say, peace, land, and bread. Oh boy, who would not vote for that? Peace, land, and bread. And they incited the people, and they brought Lenin over, another person who was close to Jewish mindset in his family and in his friends. And actually they got war, slavery, and starvation. Who doesn't know what the effects are of communism in Russia? They destroyed Holy Russia, destroyed the Orthodox Church. We know that Lenin, after he got power, after he incited the people to revolt, and all that he went through to have the Tsar abdicate and on, he needed help. Russia is the biggest country in the world, and so he needed help. So where did he go? He went to Brooklyn because he was financed there from Wall Street and from the Jews of the millionaires back in those days, and in Europe, the Jewish millionaires, he got financing from them. But he needed help because he needed governors and mayors. Lenin had an army, a bunch of ragtag thugs who had no fear of God. Yes, and many of them were Jews. And he needed mayors for all the cities and the towns of Russia. He had 567 openings that he put people in power, but they had to be thinking the same way as him. So he went to Brooklyn and he recruited 458 of them, Jews, all of them Jews, to be commissars in Russia. And they proceeded, because they hated Christ, to destroy the church. We know the Jews had their own supermarkets, department stores, whereas the common people in Russia, no. The good stuff was for the communist elite. If anybody in Russia had the protocols of Zion, they were immediately taken out and killed. You can't have that book, which talks about the atrocities and it talks about the plans of Zionism. You immediately killed. The first country to recognize Israel was the Soviet Union. The first country to legalize abortion was the Soviet Union. In their effort to destroy the church, look what they did. 60 or 70,000 churches were destroyed. Ugh, God have mercy. You know what it takes to build one church? But these are holy churches throughout all of Russia, and they systematically destroyed them. Many of the very big churches, and they couldn't hide their destruction, so they were left. But they accomplished over 70,000 churches. And what are they going to do with the monasteries? Holy Russia had 1,200 monasteries. They destroyed them. Monasteries and convents. Now, what are they going to do with these peasant Orthodox people? Well, Lenin, Stalin, what did they do? They caused a famine. And what did they accomplish? They killed 60 million Orthodox people. The clergy, 70,000. Unbelievable. This is the legacy of communism. And this is the country that helped us, and they were kicked in the teeth, as the saying goes, by the Americans. And remember, when Alexander Solzhenitsyn came out of the Soviet Union and is trying to educate Americans, he said this interesting quote: "You must understand, the leading Bolsheviks who took over Russia were not Russian. They hated Russians. They hated Christians. Driven by ethnic hatred, they tortured and slaughtered millions of Russians without a shred of human remorse. It cannot be overstated. Bolshevism committed the greatest human slaughter of all time. Communism did, yes. The fact that most of the world is ignorant and uncaring about this enormous crime is proof that the global media is in the hands of the perpetrators. I consider it settled history that the Russian Revolution was primarily a Jewish project executed by Jews, revolutionaries in Russia, and funded by Jewish bankers from abroad. So the Russians who saved America from being destroyed, look what the devil incited that happened to them. The greatest atrocity, I think, of history. Okay, thank you all for listening. God bless you. And remember, we only have one more week to the Holy Fast, and we come to the Feast of Peter and Paul. Congratulations on enduring this fasting period. It was a long fast because Pascha came early this year. Okay, God bless you. Thank you.